PlayStation exclusives started taking over the top shelf of the best video games over the past decade. These exclusive titles have become the main reason why someone would consider buying a PlayStation instead of other platforms. This is mainly because PlayStation exclusives are highly popular and admired for delivering top-notch stories and with the unmatched gameplay and the enjoyment. In 2018, Sony released the epitome of the PlayStation exclusive goodness and one of the best games the world has ever seen, shutting the mouths of all the haters and giving the fans a taste of real greatness. God of War came on to the world as much needed masterpiece to the gaming universe. If you ever want a reason to get a PlayStation, this is definitely it. Developed by Santa Monica Studio and published by Sony Interactive Entertainment, God of War came out back in April 20th, 2018, exactly 3 years ago, changing the standards of gaming and storytelling. God of War falls in the action-adventure game category and is the 8th installment in the God of War video game series. It is also a sequel to the beloved 2010's God of War 3 title, but comes with some mind-blowing improvements in everything: lore, narrative, gameplay, characters and visuals. The game's title might be kind of misleading and confusing because there has already been one God of War, but at the same time it makes sense as this game was a complete soft reboot of the series with a new takes on the story, gameplay and the God of War Kratos himself. When you think about the previous God of War games, the very first thing that comes to mind is probably Greece and Greek mythology. However, this has changed in the God of War title as the game sets in ancient Scandinavia and based more on the Norse mythology than Greek. The game features 6 of the 9 realms of the Norse mythology: Midgard, Alfheim, Helheim, Jotunheim, Niflheim, Muspelheim. All of these 6 realms are explorable along with the progression of the story. Most of the stuff happens in the Midgard and oh boy, are they all mesmerizing in their own unique ways. However, God of War really doesn't put out a full open world environment where you can roam freely according to your will like the most of today's video games. But it surely is impressive how it manages to give players a sense of exploration in its linear world with enough side quests to engage in. You can still fast travel within points, and one little thing I liked about this one, how Atreus, Kratos' son, talks about the world and expands the lore. God of War brings new standards to the action-adventure game genre. It really manages to both captivate the story and the action through its amazing choreography and camera usage. And here's a fun fact about the game: God of War made history as the first AAA title to use one-shot camera. The game uses an over-the-shoulder free camera and it contains no camera cuts or loading screens in the between sequences. This brings out the immersion of the story and the hype, and the coolness that it's written all over the story. Also, the new Norse theme really fits the game better than the previous Greek affiliation. It helps bring out the mystical nature of its setting and the story, and you and I both know Greek mythology is too mainstream at this point, so Norse mythology really makes a unique vibe for this reboot. This new God of War was one major change in its gameplay department. You no longer get to use the iconic Blade of Chaos, which were Kratos' signature weapons in the past titles. Instead, he uses a magical battle axe, Leviathan Axe. Yes, the double-chained blades with the previous titles made the combat fluid, but this new weapon makes things even better. You can throw it at the enemies and can be summoned back to you. It's kind of like you're wielding Thor's hammer and truly adds more fun to the combat and other creative combos and mechanics to the game. It can be thrown at the enemies to stun them, thrown at the terrains and objects to special interactions, and even freeze some objects and enemies. This might look like a repetitive combat style, but what makes things more interesting are the runes that you use to upgrade the axe's heavy and light attacks. Players can choose what type of magical ability they want to go for, and there are plenty of things to choose from. However, if you're really a die-hard fan of the classic Blades of Chaos, worry not. You will still get them as you progress into the story, and they can be upgraded as well. Another new weapon you can use in the game is the Guardian Shield. While it is mainly used for defensive plays, you can also use it for offensive plays, giving more variety in the combat department. The Rage ability also returns in this title, and there are plenty of crafting resources that players can use to upgrade and craft various armors and items. This kinda gives it an RPG feel as well. Now to the main highlights of the game. Story and characters. Hands down, the new God of War story is among the top 5 you can find in a video in the world of video games. The game revolves around Kratos and his son Atreus. You already know Kratos, but Atreus, aka Boy, it's new in the series that both of them together delivers one hell of a story and the adventure. The story starts in a very innocent way where Atreus' mother, Kratos' wife, dies, and they just want to scatter her ashes as promised. But the story takes a turn into a more adventurous and action-filled one when they are starting to meet some more important characters. Throughout the story, you actually see how this father and son relationship develops even more in a very emotional and beautiful way. The plot expands into something bigger, and you get to explore the story of both the main characters in a captivating way. This is one of the best features of the game. In this God of War title, you not only get to play as Kratos, but also see his son Atreus. Not play as him directly, but you can make him help you in a combat and even get to control him in some scenes. You start to really feel for both characters as the plot keeps evolving. The next best thing about the game is the voice acting. It is simply top notch. The performance given by Christopher Judge is just phenomenal. Not only the voice but the motion capture by Kratos has been done by him, and it's exceptional. The game ends by telling the audience that Ragnarok is coming, leaving space for a sequel. The soundtrack in the game isn't as flashy as the other titles, but it simply sets the ambience for the game in a really good way. God of War is a story-oriented game more than anything, that packs a lot of the cutscenes and cinematic shots, and the music in the game knows when to appear, and when they do, they take that cinematic feel of the game to a whole other level of heavens. The devs have really outdone themselves by delivering perfection through its technical aspects, story, sound design, and visuals, making it one of the most memorable games to ever have existed. It is also the 5th highest rated PlayStation game of all time and the highest rated non-remastered PlayStation title up to date. It also went on to win the Game of the Year award of 2018, beating Red Dead Redemption 2. This says everything why you must try this game out. If you're looking for a game to play, or you're new to the PlayStation platform, God of War is one of my top recommendations. The game manages to redefine the God of War series without damaging its predecessors. And you don't really have to have played the earlier titles to enjoy this one. I won't hesitate to call it a masterpiece in every time when I play it. I learned to love and enjoy it in different ways. It was very fun and enjoyable to play the game when it came out back in 2018 and even after 3 years, and the feeling has not gone. One of the PlayStation bosses, Herman Holtz, himself mentioned how the game is close and personal to him, and that the upcoming God of War 2 Ragnarok is his most anticipated game. Another good reason to revisit the game in this new generation of the PlayStation is the upgrade it recently received for the PlayStation 5 feature, 4K 60 FPS gameplay. I personally can't wait to hear more about the series' future with the Ragnarok coming in 2001, even though it's presumably most likely will be coming now in 2022. God of War 2018 still stands the test of its time with its unmatched unique gameplay style along with its memorable story. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you guys wish to also support me, please do consider using Patreon. I will leave down links below in the description. You also will receive extra rewards and on top of that an earlier access to these bigger special videos. Lastly, I wish to mention that I actually have a playlist, and this contains more than 55 videos at this point of these special videos that I put time and effort into them. I highly encourage you to check them out. Alright, well, like and subscribe, see you guys all, and have a wonderful day.